Good day. We're gathered here today electronically due to the extraordinary circumstances of the COVID pandemic. Ordinarily, of course, we would gather together as a community in our auditorium, but for safety, this year we must come together well apart. One cannot deny that something is lost because of this. The question then, for each of us, is despite this, how can we meaningfully observe this occasion, Remembrance Day, in this time of social distancing? How can we connect as a community while apart? This video, sent to each student and family within the Tupper community, is one way to help us do this. Though much has changed since March, the need for this day has not gone away. The sacrifices of those who have come before us have not suddenly disappeared. Our obligation to them, our responsibility to remember their sacrifices, has not ceased simply because our day-to-day lives have changed drastically. We are living in a time of anxiety, of distraction, of confusion. It can feel difficult to concentrate on any one thing for very long. Thankfully, however, the very nature of Remembrance Day, its stillness, its silence, its contemplation, can help us to stop, to block out the noise of everyday life, and remember. This is not a day to glorify war or conflict. It is a day to remember the sacrifice of the people who came before us in war. But more than that, it is also a day that brings us together as a society to firmly and unequivocally reject war and aggression. We need not look far around the world to see power being used by leaders to divide and intimidate, where leadership is portrayed as nothing more than glorified bullying. Many of the students within our community and their families have come to Canada from parts of the world where war and aggression are daily realities. Part of our duty as members of Canadian society on a day like Remembrance Day is to observe as a society that the world doesn't have to be like this. Violence, war, and aggression are not foregone conclusions. They are conscious choices made by leaders. When we say we remember or never again, we push against the idea of war and conflict. And we do this by remembering those who have put themselves in harm's way or sacrificed their lives in support of this ideal. Today's video will be shorter than our regular ceremony and will feature a combination of Tupper content as well as content provided by the Government of Canada. I encourage you to find a quiet space where you and whoever else is watching this can be still for the entire duration of the video, a space where you can sit in that stillness and quiet and block out the world around you for a short time, a space to sit and remember. We begin then with O Canada.
Hi everyone, my name is Harjit Sajan, Minister of National Defence for Canada, and I wanted to deliver a short message to you before you watch this great Veterans Week video. I know this has been a tough 8 months for all of us, and I wanted to thank you for doing your part to stop the spread of COVID-19. On Remembrance Day, we remember the bravery of our veterans, and we reflect on the sacrifices they made to fight for our freedom and defend Canada. This is also a time to think of the people who are serving in the Canadian Armed Forces today, so that our country, our values, and our way of life are well defended. They are the veterans of tomorrow. I hope that you enjoy hearing more about our veterans and that you share what you have learned with those around you, lest we forget.
Hello, I'm a member of the Canadian Armed Forces, and I am proud to join a number of my colleagues in this video and share our story with you today. Like all members of the military, my job is to keep you and Canada safe. On Remembrance Day, we remember Canadian sailors, soldiers, and aviators who have risked or even lost their lives so we could live with freedoms, in peace, and enjoying our Canadian way of life. We remember those Canadians who left their families, friends, and communities during times of conflict and war for months or even years at a time to fight for freedom and for peace. They did so and continue to do so, knowing that they may never come home again.
Picture yourself in the 1940s, walking for hours, carrying a heavy backpack, drenched in rain or sweating through extreme heat. You haven't bathed or eaten a meal that didn't come out of a can in weeks. You dig a deep hole in the ground to catch a few hours sleep, which is often interrupted by a duty watch or an enemy attack. You are a Canadian soldier.
Feel the freezing winds and water of the Atlantic as you stand watch for enemy submarines and airplanes trying to stop you from delivering vital supplies. You may be in knee-deep water that has flooded your ship and you haven't seen land for weeks. You are a Canadian sailor.
Now you're flying through fog, clouds, and rain in the dark of night without radar. Enemy artillery shells rock your plane, test your courage. You don't know whether you'll make it back to the airfield or crash into enemy territory, but you have to continue on to drop bombs on your target. You are a Canadian aviator.
You are one of 1 million Canadians who wonder if you'll ever come home again, if you'll ever kiss your mother or hug your father again, if you'll ever grow old. 45,000 Canadians did not. They never returned from the Second World War.
On Remembrance Day, we also pay tribute to veterans of the Korean and Afghanistan wars, as well as numerous other international missions. More than 500 Canadians lost their lives in Korea, and 158 Canadian Armed Forces members did not come back from Afghanistan. Many who returned carried the consequences of war with them, battling long-term physical, psychological, and emotional wounds. Despite the unimaginable challenges, generations of our bravest and best Canadians have risked their lives for our freedom. Determined to keep Canadians safe, to defend our way of life, and to try and make the world a better place. That's something we must never forget, the unimaginable heroism and great sacrifices made by our Canadian veterans.
Today, Canadian Armed Forces members continue to risk their own health and safety to protect others. While many continue to be deployed overseas on United Nations and NATO missions, others serve here at home, responding to natural disasters like floods, forest fires, and snowstorms across the country, carrying out life-saving search and rescue missions by air, ground, and sea, responding to about 1,000 search and rescue calls each year.
More recently, others put their medical training to work, helping to fight the COVID-19 pandemic. Whatever and wherever the need, Canadians can count on us to keep them safe and our country safe, just as our veterans did. That's the link that ties today's military members with those who came before us. We are all part of the Canadian family, and we are all in this together. Thank you.
I love this land. You were and always shall be my brother. We were in the same color wrapped in the flag of this nation. My blood flowed as freely as yours. Mixed in the fields, one could not be distinguished from the other. Yet when we came home, when the nation's colors were removed, difference became apparent, not between you and me, God willing, never, but in the eyes of those for whom we laid down our lives. Oh, we stood shoulder to shoulder in the parades, but the government thought that your life was more valuable than mine. So you were given land, property, while I waited and waited. I know what you were given was not enough for what we endured. Still, it was much more than I. I am not envious of you, brother. I believe you deserve even more than you received, but it hurt me very badly. And I'm not ashamed to say I cried. And why not? I bled. I died. I killed. Why does my country think I am unworthy? The enemy I fought could never be as cruel as the people I came back to embrace. I gave up so much, lived through so much, and then you who I would give all for, you pushed me aside as if I was inconsequential. I feel as if I've been spit upon by one I honored. Do I feel good having to ask you for what should have been given long ago? No. In fact, I'm a little ashamed to ask for justice in this, for I never went to war for money, for glory, for reward. I went because it was the right thing to do, and God forgive me, I would go again. This may seem an old wound to you, but it is a wound that never heals. For it is a wound to my people's heart and soul, an insult to our pride, and we deserve so much better, especially from you.
How can this happen? How can this be? There is no ending, there is no peace. The darkness is so close, the light so quickly goes, and now it's all gone. Now it's all gone.
In Flanders Fields by John McCrae. In Flanders Fields, the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks, still bravely singing, fly scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders Fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders Fields.
This brings us to the end of this year's ceremony. My thanks to you for engaging within this process. My thanks as well to the student performers and readers within the video, to Ms. Reed, Mr. Evans, Ms. Braun, and the staff of Tupper for their support, and also to Ms. Reed, who is taking time to edit this video together. As well, a huge thank you to the students of our TAP program, who graciously spent their time sorting and organizing poppies, so each Tupper student would receive one in advance of Remembrance Day. If you are not watching this on November 11th, I do encourage you to set time aside on the 11th to formally observe Remembrance Day. While in-person ceremonies have all been canceled due to COVID, you can engage with live-streamed events taking place across Metro Vancouver or in our nation's capital in Ottawa by following the links that will be displayed at the end of the video. There are also links where you can find poppies, in case you don't yet have one to wear, and as well a link where you can provide a donation to the Canadian Legion's Poppy Fund, a fund that goes towards helping veterans of Canada's armed forces. Please remember, Wednesday is not just another day off school. It's not just a day in which to sleep in. It's Remembrance Day. On the 11th, get up, take some time to engage in this most important occasion along with fellow members of your society. Thank you.